Okay, so today I have this water dispenser here. Got it. Someone threw it out. So I see I might as well work on it. It's running 110 power. Looks pretty old schoolish. So it's a GE water dispenser, model number GXCF05D. So it's 134A, 110 as I said. So what I would do is before I turn on power, I would unscrew it and take a look at stuff and see any signs of damage inside or so. It also has this little cubby hole here. It says do not store perishable items in this compartment. So I would see if down here, I don't think down here is like a cooler or anything, because that's what it says here, but I will check it and see. That's it under here behind the condenser. So I would open it and see the situation. So I have removed the back and exposed the top. Haven't pulled out my meter to do any extensive testing, but I'm just making sense of what I see. So this black wire looks like the live wire, which then comes up to this brown, which goes to a thermostat. And leaving the thermostat, there is a blue wire here, which goes over to the lights, which were in front, which leads me to saying these wires here that goes to these lights tells what mode the system is in. So power, most likely heat also, you see here, and cool. So then these wires will identify what is happening. So when I trace back, I come down here now, there's a yellow. Yes, so there is this yellow wire which comes up to the switch and goes back down to this storage tank or so. I don't want to mash it up or anything, but there are these switches here. I suspect probably limit switch. So what I would do before pulling up my meter, I would connect power to it to hear anything, see if it's giving any function, then get a lead on where to test. Yeah, so I'm connecting power to my transformer. We'll blow up. I will switch it on. I am getting no compressor, no light. Could be I'm in it wrong. Oh, transformer could be bad. What I can do goes down. What I will do now is connect power. Get an amp reading on the live line to see if anything would work. So I'm reading no amps. Let me turn on the switch. No amps. So then there is a problem somewhere. It's either with the switch or with my power. So I've tested the system. Nothing happened on the transformer. I did some testing. I realized this switch was kind of bad. So what I did, jump out the switch. Don't have voltage on my meter, but I don't have the connection right. Yep. Compressor is running, humming very low. Discharge line is more or less cold. I have my indication lights on. I have the flash on so you won't see. I'm hearing a little sound if I call for water. So what I would do now is put some water in the top and see if it gets cold, and also run the compressor for a little bit longer to see if the discharge line changes. Okay, so I've had some water in the top and I have connect power again. Compressor is running. lights are on. And like little Freon running. Let me see if I turn on. I'm doing this with one hand here. Hold on. Okay, so I connect, mimicking my switch. So I would want to test the temperature of the water. I have this bottle here. Feels about warm. Feels warm. This one here should be hot water. Let me Alright, so what I've did is I've added some water to the top and I've turned on the compressor. It's running. The discharge line, it's below ambient, so there is no sign of the condenser being hot or so. But the switch which I have mimicked is to connect the hot water, is what I've realized. You won't see the light because my flash is on, but let me disconnect that there. So now that light is off, but the water itself does not have any temperature change. The water I put inside here is kind of cool. Took it from a freezer, but there is no temperature change to make me know that the water is fine. So what I would do is put a bullet valve on the compressor and then check the charge, top it up and see. So I've attached my gauge and replaced the water with some warm water. So let's monitor how low the gauge drops. I have my gas ready just to add some for testing purposes. So it depends on how low it drops. The label says 28 grams. So we should see it's about 1 psi, which is low. It's dropping still. It's dropping below 1, so it's entering a vacuum. So what I would do is add a little Freon, just about, let's say, 5 psi or so. So I have added about 5 psi and I am monitoring the discharge line as well as the condenser temperature. It is giving off warm temperature, so I would say it is running. But to do an extensive test, what I would do is run it in a vacuum to ensure that I do not have any leak. The water is coming out warm still, no change in temperature, so I would leave it running for a while. Alright, so what I'm about to do now is pressure test, because I have removed the bullet valve and add on a service port. So what I normally do to pressure test is I have a compressor here which I would pump air into the system about 100 psi, and then I would see if it has a leak. It's not practical adding air into a system, but for now I would use it and then run a vacuum. So I would give it a pressure and then leak check. I have my spray bottle here to leak check. So once it reaches 100 psi, I will stop it and then leak check. Okay, so I'm at 100 psi. So I will leak check to see if I have any bubbles. I don't have any bubbles. One may argue that putting air into a system is bad, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Just run a longer vacuum, you know. So I would leave it for a little while and see if it drops, but I do not want to leave air in the system too long. So what I would do right now is connect my vacuum pump, bleed the air, and run a proper vacuum. If the vacuum rise after After about 10 minutes or so, then I know I have a leak and I have to do some extensive search, most likely on the evaporator. Alright, so all the air is bleeded out. I've connected my vacuum, so it's time to run it. It'll be a bit noisy, so I would leave it running for 10 to 20 minutes. Not a lot of line set, sorry if you can't hear me, but I would leave it for 10 to 20 minutes and then let it hold to see. So it's been above 10 minutes and I held vacuum. So what I would do is I would add refrigerant and then turn on the system. So add about, let's say, around 50 psi as a standing pressure, 50 to 40, and then turn on. So I would turn on now and monitor it. If anything, I would add the necessary charge needed, but I would leave it at about 5 psi for the max. I would convert the pressure temperature to see, but I would leave it at about 5 psi. And I would also check the grams and convert it to psi also. Compressor is running. I can get an amp draw on it. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. So I'm at 1.2 amps. Right now, I would slowly charge. Alright, so I have everything running. I'm a bit over 10 psi. I would take out some charge if necessary, but I am monitoring it still. I fixed the heater switch, so now it's on, so you can see there that all my lights are on. So if I cut off my heater switch, you will see that my heater light is off, but the water temperature coming out is cold. Yes, I have to put something to catch the water there, and my heater is working fine. So I will just monitor the system and see how I can clean it up, remove certain rust spots, and so see if I can get this as close as possible to white and fix up